Hi guys, so I looked up the Oklahoma State Board and I couldn't really find any cases or where they keep their cases for disciplinary actions or anything. So I looked at Louisiana and I was really shocked that like the top 5 cases or so all kind of discussed either substance abuse impairment, using illegal substances or alcohol related issues, and then there was a couple that talked about like inappropriate relationships with counselor or with clients and minor clients. I'm not gonna lie, I was really shocked that that was the top set of violations. I was really thinking that it was going to be breach of confidentiality or just typical complaints and stuff like that. I was not prepared for the amount of substance abuse related complaints that were on that board. So the behavior that I think that led to that discipline was, impairment and not being able to take care of themselves to a point where they felt like they needed to rely on substances to get through. This is a hard job. Being a counselor is a really hard job. You're taking on everybody else's trauma. And if you're not separating your own and taking care of yourself, then that trauma is going to turn into secondary trauma. And a lot of people don't know how to cope with their own trauma, and they don't know how to utilize their own self-care, and then they end up in the bottle, or they end up in, worse aspects than the bottle. So the ACA Code of Ethics that I went with was Section C2D that states that counselors should continually monitor their effectiveness as professionals and take steps to improve when necessary. And they take reasonable steps to seek peer supervision to evaluate their ability as counselors. And I think that's super important because it goes a long way into making sure that you're not an impaired counselor and you're not making bad decisions and you're not showing up to your session under the influence of something to where you absolutely are not able to help your client. If you're not able to help yourself, you're not able to help your client. And being impaired is probably one of the worst things that we could do as professional counselors, because we are just not in an ability to help them, and we're actually way at risk to hurt them with our decision making or lack thereof by substance abuse. I see it daily and I see how it affects people, and I hate the fact that it is affecting the counselors, because the counselors are the ones that are supposed to be helping these people get through their own issues with substance abuse so they can move forward in their life. Taking self-check-ins routinely to make sure that you are okay, that you don't feel like you need to get into the bottle or God forbid meth or something along those lines. Make sure you're utilizing that self-care. Please, please, please. The Oklahoma State guidelines from the board is Section 310, 405, 32 in the competence, Section E about impairments, and its LPC shall not offer or render professional services when such services may be impaired by personal, physical, mental, or emotional conditions. They shall seek assistance for any such personal problem with a physical, mental, or emotional condition, and if necessary, limit, suspend, or terminate their professional activities. Again, it goes up there with you. If you are not in a mind state to serve your clients, don't be serving your clients. Take a break, get yourself back together, get your head back together, get yourself right. If you're, a Christian, as we are in this particular program, find some time seeking God to see what you can do to get out of that mindset. There was an article that I looked at that talked about impairments in counselors, and the amount, it was basically 10 different counselors talked about the situations that could lead to burnout. And I won't even list them because there were so many different things between your physical well-being, your health, your mental well-being, your education, the procedures and stuff that gets put on you from the board and from your state. All of these things can lead to just an overload on the counselor. And, it just becomes too much. And that's where I think a lot of people are falling into that substance abuse as a way to numb themselves from all of this pressure that comes on you from being a counselor. I wish I could go into more detail, but I'm kind of running out of time. But that article will be in my works cited, and it's a really good one to look at. This brings to my mind the question of how am I going to protect myself from this? I'm not a drinker anyway, but I really don't want to end up being impaired in any way, shape, or form. So I'm starting to think about how I can utilize my self-care to make sure that I take care of myself before I ever even get into the profession, so I can make sure that I'm never in this situation.